Hey guys, Baddies Africa episode 3 review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. So we continue from where we left off at the end of last episode, Tavy versus DTB. And Natalie is in the background talking about, yeah, let's go, let's make some viral moments. Now, like I told y'all, Ivori was sitting there trying to coach DTB, talking about keep your head up, uppercut her, this, that, and the third. Diamond wasn't hearing nothing Ivori was saying. But Tavy was taking all of Ivori's coaching for DTB and using it on DTB. She was uppercutting DTB. She had her head up. So Tavi got that round against DTB. But while they was fighting, here comes Lex out of nowhere running up and attacking Scotty. Now, Rolly, Ivori, and a few other people kind of just seem confused. Like, everybody's like, why is Lex running up on Scotty and sneaking her out of nowhere? But what I didn't like was that Rolly was in her confessional laughing about it and thought it was so funny. Now, I'm not saying Rolly needed to jump in for Scotty. You know, her and Lex having a one-on-one fight, they've been had beef, that's fine. But Rolly, you don't really got no relationship with Lex like that compared to the relationship that we seen you built with Scotty. So why would you find it funny that a girl who you know is going to beat her is running up and sneaking her? And that's your friend. Why is that funny? Like, I would never find one of my friends getting beat up in a one-on-one funny. Even if they might deserve it and it's a one-on-one and I can't get involved. If I know that they fighting somebody that's about to whoop them, that's not about to be funny to me. So Lex tried to get Scotty again. She was like, oh, that's for jumping B. And Scotty was like, girl, you jump too. So why do it matter? But I did understand Lex's point that basically, yeah, I might jump with my friends, but if anybody call me for a one-on-one, I'm never ducking it and I'm never scared to get out there. We can't always say the same with Scotty. She loved jumping in on the fights and doing her two-on-ones, but she not always ready to get out there on a one-on-one. So I did understand where she was coming from, but I will say that every time Lex in particular has called Scotty out, we haven't seen Scotty back down. She always like, girl, it's whatever. Like, we could do whatever you want to do. But I do feel like we know that a lot of times Scotty be talking like that, but she be knowing that she kind of protected and that Lemmy is not really going to let her get a one-on-one. And if she do, it's not going to go that long. So I do feel like that's why Lex felt like she needed to sneak Scotty, similar to how DTB felt like she needed to sneak Natalie to get Natalie. So while I didn't like Lex sneaking Scotty, I did understand why she had to do it, similar to why DTB said she had to do it. So then we got Summer on the side trying to jump into Lex and Scotty fight. Scotty is getting mad at Natalie now because she basically saying, oh, you see Summer keep jumping in. You letting them jump me and you not doing nothing. But Scotty, you was just on Team Anna acting like y'all was going to jump Natalie. Like it was a 2-on-1 with you and Anna versus Natalie. And at this point, you just got to stop expecting loyalty from Natalie or expecting her to do anything. Like she shows y'all time and time again, she's not really y'all friend. And she showed you last season with the Jayla situation. When Jayla was going against Lex, Summer, and Dolly, you was the main one saying, oh, I'm so hurt because Natalie didn't have Jayla back. So why would you think that when it's you against Lex, Summer, and Dolly, she gonna have your back? So Ivori, Diamond, and a few others start rushing over to Summer and they like, we sick of her jumping. And I guess they saw like Scotty is screaming for Natalie help. Natalie is not helping Scotty. So somebody need to step in and help Scotty so that she's not getting jumped. So I was happy that Ivori stepped up and did what Natalie should have done and was like, girl, I'm tired of you jumping. Now I'm going to whoop your ass for real. And Summer, no, she can't beat Ivori. So as Ivori and DTB was walking over there, one of the guys fell into the pool. He needed to be in that pool anyway, fishing for Pretty P Watch. So everybody makes Lex and Dolly stay back. Y'all not jumping in. Summer is about to get that ass tore up. And they let Ivori tear Summer up. I mean, for a minute. The security wasn't breaking it up or nothing. That's how you know everybody on the production team is tired of Summer. They wanted her to get fucked up one good time. Now, Rolly really got on my nerves this episode, but I will say that I did peep that she was like the main person pushing Dolly back, saying like, no, y'all not going to keep jumping all night. Because we know that when Summer fight, Dolly is really more likely to jump in than Lex. It's like Lex is some Tommy, but a lot of times she do be trying to break it up and being more of a neutral and mature party. But Dolly, you already know she going to try to jump in. While Ivori is beating Summer up, we see Natalie on the side trying to talk to Scotty. You could tell Scotty don't want to hear nothing Natalie got to say. She basically motioning Natalie to get the fuck out of her face. We see Lex do a confessional. She says she know that Ivori is a heavy hitter, and we all know Summer really can't fight. So it was hard for her to watch Ivori beat the F out of Summer, but it was nothing she could do about it because everybody made it clear. She keep jumping in fights, and now she's going to get beat up one-on-one. We not letting y'all two save Summer because Lex and Dolly fight better than Summer. So it's like they always saving her. So then we see Ivori, DTB, and Pretty P having a little like meeting on the side together. They checking out Ivori's face, making sure she don't look bad. She is a little scratched up. She said that Summer was clawing her face, but we already know it was clear as day. She won that fight and she tore Summer ass up. So Ivori basically said, you know, Summer jumped me at the reunion and now she was jumping Scotty. Hopefully she learned her lesson from me just whooping her ass and she won't jump nobody else. But knowing Summer, she's never going to learn her lesson. Natalie was still trying to tell Scotty, like, you know, I wasn't there for them jumping you. I didn't know that Summer was jumping in. And Scotty was basically like, girl, Natalie, you just need to stay on that side. Stop coming in my face trying to act like you my friend. and you really on the other side. You was just saying you wanted Lex to beat me up, so stop acting like now that's not what you want. Scotty basically was saying that Lex didn't need to sneak her. She could have asked her for a straight fade. And while I said Scotty hasn't been ducking fades from Lex, she's always been like, it's whatever, we could fight. I feel like Lex knows that once she gives that warning, like, I want to fight you, if she gives her the warning, then the security is going to be on heightened alert because they are known to protect Scotty. And clearly that's what Lemmy is probably telling them to do. So she don't want to give Scotty or the production or the security no warning that I want to fight. She just felt like she needed to run up with no warning. So Lex told Summer, I don't need you jumping in my fight. Summer said, yeah, I know you got that. And Scotty was like, okay, so then why did you jump in? And Summer was like, oh, don't talk to me. You need to handle the big bad wolf Lex. You need to handle the girl that's prettier than you. So basically just taunting Scotty with Lex. So then Cold K walks up to Diamond and she's like, do you need time or you ready to get it in right now? And Diamond like, what's up? So Cold K explains her whole situation to Diamond about the song. Diamond basically stood on the fact that she don't know who Cold K is. She says she never heard Cold K's remix to the song. She never heard the original song. And it's not even her song. It's Tink's song that she simply jumped on and did a verse on as a feature. So really, most of this energy should be for Tink, if anybody. And Tink is not here. So you just taking out energy that's really for Tink on Diamond because you don't have no other choice because Tink is not on this season. So Cold K didn't want to accept that Diamond said she didn't know who she was. She said, okay, so since you don't know who I am, we got to get it. And Diamond said, okay, that's fine. Diamond was in her confessional. She said, here goes Cold K putting in a mouth guard, another fan just like Tavi. And she did her fan confessional again. So DTB and Cold K went 2 rounds. DTB got both rounds in my opinion. And DTB is not even the best fighter. So that just shows like Cold K really don't got no hands. First round wasn't as bad for Cold K, but DTB still won. But Cold K was like, she had her toe in Diamond's cooter, and that was her martial arts move, child. I don't know. It really didn't help her that much because Diamond was on top the whole time. Dolly was in the back talking about, yeah, Cold K, I don't like you either, but flip her over. So she wanted Cold K to beat Diamond. Didn't happen. And then when they went the second round, like I said, DTB got Cold K again. She was kneeing her all in her face like 3-4 times. LCK must be the person with the new corny confessional. She's talking about, oh, it was like a barbecue and all these girls were meat. The flames were hot. You feel me? Like, girl, what? So Tavy is basically like, you know, after all this stuff that went on tonight, I'm ready to de-stress. I'm ready to give me a shot, do my first baddie shot o'clock. So she's trying to lighten the mood and get all of the girls to just drink and have a good time after all of that drama. So Natalie's like, yeah, let's go over to the baddie bar. And she kind of mentioned something about how the girls need to respect Scotty and some of the other baddies who have been there for a while. And it's like, Natalie, you can't go back and forth. You can't tell them, oh, there's no OGs this season. Everybody's baddies. Everybody's on the same level. But then now, because you see Scotty getting attacked every which way, you want to say something on the side talking about, oh, y'all need to respect the baddies who've been here for a while. Like, are they OGs or not? So Scotty turns around and she's approaching Summer and she's like, let's go swim. So I do feel like Scotty was ready to run it with Summer. But Dolly was getting in front of Summer like, oh no, stop. And you could tell Summer did not want to fight Scotty. So I'm like, why is it that Dolly is protecting Summer from fighting Scotty, but y'all keep wanting Lex to fight Scotty? Like, why can Lex fight Scotty, but Summer can't? Like, Summer just looks a mess right now, period. Ivori really tore her up. But they finally get over to the bar and Dolly was basically like, to be honest, Natalie blinked and she didn't see when Scotty got hit. So Dolly was basically, in my opinion, admitting that, yeah, Summer did jump in the fight, but she don't think that Natalie saw it. So Scotty came walking back over and she was like, honestly, I just looked in the mirror and I look fine, so it don't even matter. And she was like, Lex, you had a good enough time to get me, especially since you had Summer jumping in with you, and I still look good, just like at the reunion. And you could tell that once Scotty said, like, yeah, I still look good, just like at the reunion, y'all didn't do nothing. Lex was talking about she didn't have enough time. She was triggered. So she was like, you know what, Scotty, I want to run it again. And I low-key felt like that showed that Lex might be jealous of Scotty. Like, why are you pressed and getting mad or so triggered because she said you ain't do nothing to me and I still look pretty? Like, was your goal to mess up her face? Was your goal to not make her look pretty anymore? So they went and squared up again, and Lex was doing a lot, looking like she was doing the cha-cha slide. You know, I guess she was trying to fake Scotty out and, like, like pump fake at her or whatever. And then eventually she just ran up and got Scotty, kind of against the counter and was just duking her. Natalie got in between it. Now, I will say, when you just watch it straight, it really looked like Lex did some damage to Scotty. But when you slow it down, she wasn't really connecting. Like, she didn't connect on Scotty like that in that round. It looked good, but she really didn't do nothing. I'm not saying that Scotty won or Scotty kept up. I'm just saying that Lex didn't do nothing as far as what it looked like on the screen. In one time speed, you need to put it on 0.5 speed, and y'all will see what I'm talking about. Like, she wasn't connecting. So they break it up. Scotty tells Lex she'll get in the field with her anytime. And Natalie was basically like, no, you guys need to stop. You guys are not going anymore. So just like Scotty said, 1 minute Natalie wants Lex to beat Scotty up, and the next minute she's throwing herself in between their fight. So Scotty knuckle was bleeding, and Natalie was like, see, Scotty, you're getting active. Like, she's proud of Scotty. And Dolly was like, yeah, two pretty bees got active. It's nothing. And Summer and Lex were like, yeah, like, you're cute. We never said you weren't cute. You just chose the wrong side. And Scotty was basically saying she never chose the side, which I feel is low-key true, because everything was cool with them until Summer inserted herself in Scotty's beef last season that Scotty was going through with Natalie and Rolly. Like, it was some OG beef. Something about Scotty carrying the bone and going back and forth between Natalie and Rolly. It had nothing to do with Summer, and Summer inserted herself. From that point forward, Scotty and Summer had a problem. And then it just extended to Lex and Scotty having a problem. So Natalie's like, okay. She starts trying to do a baddie shot o'clock. Of course, that's the only thing she knows how to do to lighten the mood or to reset. And she sees that Diamond isn't doing it. So she kind of looks over to Diamond like, what's your problem? So Diamond was basically like, stop talking to me. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. And Natalie was like, I'm not going to leave you alone. Like, you need to do baddie shot o'clock. So Diamond basically just started jumping around, doing splits, doing backflips, doing cartwheels real quick, twerking and saying baddie shot o'clock just to get Natalie off her back. She was like, okay, you happy now? And Natalie was like, yes. Then Russian Cream pipes up, and she's basically like, oh, Natalie, why isn't Anna here? Did you fire her? And Natalie was like, I definitely had to let her go. And Dolly was like, yeah, she had to let Anna go because she always make boss ass decisions. So Diamond piped up and she was like, yeah, boss ass decisions, like not giving me my Baddies chain when I deserved it on Baddies Caribbean, giving Meatball the chain over Diamond. So Ivori was in her confessional like, here come Diamond. So Natalie was like, you know what, Diamond? I don't give a F. You keep on challenging me. I'll get in the paint with you right now. Diamond was looking at her like, girl, please. Looking at her like she was crazy. And Diamond basically was like, girl, I'm not challenging you. I'm telling you what it is. You want to know what my problem is with you, and I'm letting you know. I feel like you didn't respect me. You didn't give me my credit. You didn't give me my tens. When I came on Caribbean, that was my first season. I did my big one. Most of the viewers agreed that I was the most valuable baddie. Even the people who didn't like her, like myself, understood that she was a star and she brought a lot to the season. But Natalie failed to give her that credit as the EP and the quote unquote baddie CEO, because you didn't give her a chain, you gave one to Meatball. And we know that Meatball was on the show crashing out, using weapons, saying she didn't want to fight. That's really not baddie material. So Natalie ends up apologizing, tells Diamond, if you felt like I didn't give you the love or respect you deserved, I'm giving it to you now. You were the MVP of Caribbean. You're doing a great job on this show, and that's why I keep bringing you back. There you go. Are you happy now? Diamond was like, yeah, I'm happy now. That's all I wanted. So Ivori was like, okay, like, can we hug it out? And Natalie was like, whoa. I'm not hugging her because the last time I hugged her, she slapped me. But we're cool. Like, we're going to dead the beef here. So Diamond is satisfied because Natalie finally gave her credit. Everybody's on the side clapping because they happy that Natalie and Diamond squashed the beef. Tavy baby is one of the people clapping, and I'm like, girl, you look stupid. You came on this show trying to beef with Diamond because she slapped Natalie and saying that the girls are too entitled and they need to respect their boss, this, that, and the third. But now Natalie is apologizing to DTB as soon as y'all get in the house. And now you already done started this whole beef that you're going to have with DTB for the rest of the season, while her and Natalie done became cool. And it's weird because Tavy Baby is the same person later in the episode who's going to tell somebody, I believe she's going to tell Cole K, like, oh, you picking alliances too early. You fighting for Kay Rican and Fauna, and you don't even know them like that. You might not be cool with them by the end of the season. But you came in the house picking with people for Natalie, and you don't know Natalie either. Just because she's your boss and she's the person who picked you for the show don't mean nothing. Natalie beefs with half of the girls that she puts on this show. So what would make you any different? You came on the show the same way, beefing for somebody that you don't even know. So I thought the fighting was finally over and the girls were going to go find their rooms. But here goes LCK talking about, oh, the only person I'm worried about getting to right now is Kay Rican, because she's been living in my head rent-free since the situation we had. So we see LCK going over to Kay Rican, and she's like, you know me and you are going to have to get into it, right? You know we're going to have to get into it. And she's like grabbing on Kay Rican's arms. So Kay Rican tells us in the confessional that she was smoking her vape. I guess she was smoking it indoors. And LCK came over and was like, you're not supposed to be using that inside. And Kay Rican was like, I guess she felt like she could tell me what to do because she's from Zimbabwe. And remember, LCK claimed that her grandfather was the VP of Zimbabwe. So Kay Rican was like, girl, I don't care who you think you are. I'm grown, you grown, and you're not going to tell me what to do. So she basically blew the vape in LCK's face. So Kay Rican and LCK start fighting. Neither one of them could fight, so I don't have a clear winner on that. But Cold K started trying to jump in for Kay Rican. So she's trying to uppercut Elsie, and Tavy Baby jumps in and she's like, no, you're not gonna jump. So she's pushing Cold K back. So Elsie and Kay Rican end up going a second round. It's a mess. Still don't know who won. Lex and Scotty are right next to each other, breaking the fight up. Like, are y'all enemies or are y'all friends? Because I don't understand how Lex just snuck you, Scotty, and you that comfortable standing right next to her while y'all breaking up another fight. How you don't know she not going to sneak you again? Tavi still telling Cold K she need to back up. She don't need to be jumping in. And at the same time, Tate is yelling to Elsie like, oh, you need to get Cold K. You need to beat her up. She jumped in your fight. And I'm like, Tavy, if you feel that strongly about it and Elsie is your friend, why don't you just pop on Cold K if you feel like they jumping her? And you already could tell Elsie can't fight. So it's like, girl, don't be setting her up for failure, telling her, oh, you just finished fighting Kay Rican. Now you need to turn around and fight Cold K because I saw her jump in your fight. If you saw somebody jumping me, why didn't you jump in? So Tavy turns Elsie around, barely conscious, barely knowing what the hell is going on, and pushes her into a fight with Cold K. Cold K is tearing Elsie up, knocking her all upside her head, and all Elsie is doing is holding on to Cold K like this. Tavy talking about swing, Elsie, swing. Like, no, you set her up for failure, Tavy. So Elsie starts crashing out. She runs up on Cold K again. She's getting tore up again. And this is Tavy's face talking about some damn, damn, damn. Like, no, you should have helped her. That's your friend, right? And she was getting jumped. You set her up for failure. Like, you should have jumped in and helped her if you felt the way. She pissed me off. And then she was in her confessional talking about, oh, Elsie did her thing. You would have thought she was some type of woman king. No, she didn't do her thing. And you know she didn't do her thing because in the scene you was talking about some damn, damn, damn. So don't lie in your confessional. So Elsie is having a complete crash out. Funniest shit ever. I'm not gonna lie. I was laughing the whole time. Everybody's looking at her like she's crazy. Lex is like, the more you restrain her, the worse it's gonna be. She's like, who's sneaking on this shit? Ivori's like, girl, nobody snuck you. But they were saying like Cold K did sneak her. She jumped in the fight, but that's the only person who snuck you. So that's who you already got. You ran up to her twice and you lost. So you can't beat her. So just move on. I don't know what to tell you. So Ivori's really trying to be like a real mediator, kind of calming Elsie down, telling her she need to take 5 minutes, she need to breathe. If you want to go back out there and fight in a little while, you could do that. But you need to reset. Like, you need to recharge. You need to calm down. You need to get your mind right now. While Summer is walking behind them with a cup talking about, oh, here, Elsie, drink some liquor. That's going to make you feel better. Ivori was like, girl, get out her face. Like, if you don't have no water, get out of her face. And it's so sad that Ivori is like 21, 22, maybe 23 at the most. And Summer is like 28, 29. And we could see that Ivori is way more mature than Summer. And when Ivori told Summer to get out of her face, that's exactly what she did. She walked away quietly like that was her mama. She don't want to get done in again. So then out of nowhere, we see Russian Cream walking behind Kay Rican, and she's like, I want my one with you. I want to fight you. Now, Kay Rican is tired from her fight with LCK. She already said she wasn't feeling good. You know, they had a 14-hour flight. She's jet lagged. She's in a new country, which I know how that is. Sometimes when you travel to a new country, you just don't feel good those first couple days. Like, I don't know if it'd be something in the air, the water, or just the travel in itself, but it'd be just too different for your body, and it takes a while for your body to adjust. And then on top of that, they getting out there and they immediately fighting. Like, she been fighting all day. First she was fighting with Dolly, Lex, and Summer, and then now she just had to fight LCK. So yeah, she's tired. She's worn out for the day. And here comes Russian Cream talking about she want to fight her. So I felt like that was low-key weak. Like, why did you wait until after LCK fought her and she was tired? And Russian Cream reasoning for wanting to fight Kay Rican was stupid. Like, I felt like I could understand why you want to fight her or why you feel like she's weird or you might not like her. But it wasn't that urgent where you couldn't have just been like, okay, I see she's sick. I'm going to give her a day. Like, she been fighting all day. It was given like you wanted to fight her at a weak point, and that's some weak shit from you. But she basically said that LCK came up to her and was like, oh, did you call me weird? Russian says she did call Elsie weird, but she asked Elsie, who told you I said that? And Elsie said, Kay Rican told me. Russian felt like that was crazy because she was like, yeah, I did call Elsie weird, but Kay Rican called Elsie weird too. So why would she go back to Elsie and be like, oh, Russian called you weird if you said the same thing? So it's like, I get it. If that's true, Kay Rican is weird for that, and I can see why Russian wouldn't like her. But is it that serious for you to want to fight her right now? No, especially if you wasn't on that the first time you saw her. Like I said, you waited until she was in a vulnerable position after she had already fought somebody else. I don't respect it. So Kay Rican was in the bathroom, like she wasn't feeling good. Fauna ended up saying that she was throwing up. You could just tell that she was drinking water, trying to catch her breath, like she was ready to be done for the day, and start over the next day. Russian wasn't giving her the chance to get out the bathroom. The security was standing in front of the bathroom. Russian was trying to kick the door down. So it was just a mess. Scotty and everybody ended up coming over to Russian Cream and intervening like, girl, you need to save your energy and calm down. Y'all gonna be here all season. Y'all can fight another time. So then as everybody is starting to disperse and go look for their rooms, Natalie pulls Diamond aside and she's like, I want to talk to you. I'm not doing it with you this season. The disrespect and the clout chasing with me has to stop. You're good for the show and I don't care what you do with the other castmates, but you need to stop doing it with me. So then she shows Diamond like her wing of the house. So she has a room to herself, a bathroom to herself, and then her room is surrounded by a bunch of other amenities in the house, like a movie room, a sauna and steam room, a gym. This looked like a winery or something, or like a wine chamber. So they end up going outside. She said Diamond had her own infinity pool and ice bath, and I guess she had her own patio and balcony. So they went out to that patio and balcony. They shook hands, and Diamond basically agreed, like, okay, I'll do my clout chasing stuff, and I'll do my drama with the other girls, but I won't do it with you. So they shook on it, and again, they basically put their beef to rest. So Diamond is feeling herself. She's like, oh, I got all this space. I got all these amenities. Am I the mini CEO? Now, I did hear Natalie mention something about how she wouldn't be staying in the house with the rest of the girls. So I do low-key feel like this was supposed to be Natalie's quarters in the house. But since she's not staying in the house with everybody else, she had to give that space to someone. But I am surprised that she gave it to Diamond instead of giving it to somebody like Rolly. But that just goes to show that Natalie is loyal to no one. So Rolly shouldn't be kissing Natalie's ass like she's been doing these first 3 episodes of Baddies Africa. I don't know who this new Rolly is, like I said, but I'm not feeling it. And it just goes to show that you're really not benefiting from it. So you might as well go back to being a regular Rolly and calling her out for everything she does. And Natalie was basically like, as long as you leave me alone, you'll continue to have a job and you won't even have to keep fighting on this show. You'll be able to just come here and be one of the baddies that's like an OG and sits pretty. Like, you don't have to get out there all the time. Diamond was in her confessional basically saying that Natalie is threatened by her and Natalie feels like Diamond wants to be this big, huge reality TV star. But Diamond says that's not my goal with Baddies. My goal has always been to promote my music so Natalie could have this reality TV shit for real. I do feel like Diamond has to be a little bit realistic. I think her music is decent and it's definitely better music amongst the baddies. But I think she's definitely better at reality TV and acting, and that has more promise for her. Like, she has a more promising career in that than she does in music, in my opinion. But if music is her dream and her passion, she should of course continue to pursue that as well. So we see Scotty got her own room. She's excited about that. I'm like, Scotty, you messing with Lemmy. You should have had a nice quarters like Natalie and DTB. Then we see Paula. She said that her and Ivori are going to share their bed or their room. She said as long as they wasn't in a room with no ops, she's fine. We randomly see Rolly getting some food out of this little buffet that they have there for the girls. She's warming her up a plate. But I mean, I would be doing the same thing. So then we see Kay Rican walking around. She's still out of breath trying to get herself together. But she basically said in her confessional, she felt like Russian Cream was weak for picking on her when she was at a vulnerable moment. And she felt like Russian Cream was basically trying to fight her over nothing. Like, girl, you didn't really need that from me. But now when I get myself together, we definitely going to get that. Then out of nowhere, we see Tavi. She walks into the room that she's supposed to be in with LCK and somebody else. And she was like, oh, I don't want this room. I won't take this room. And she starts taking her name off the door and running around looking for a bigger room. So the first room she goes in is Rolly's. And she's like, oh, that's Rolly room. I respect her. So she goes out of Rolly room and she ends up running into Dolly, Lex, and Summer room and putting her name on their door. So she's like, oh, I'm in here with y'all. I'm rooming with y'all. But the room only has 3 beds for Summer, Lex, and Dolly. So how are you going to be in the room with them? And it's like, girl, it clearly wasn't that type of situation. They assigned rooms at this house. They don't always assign the rooms, but they assigned the rooms at this house. So just take the room that you got. So Dolly is not feeling Tavy. She's like, girl, we're stamped. We're the big 3. This is our room. We don't got to run around and look for rooms like everybody else. And really, like I said, nobody had to run around for rooms because everybody had a room. The rooms were labeled. So I honestly felt like Tavy was weird in this situation. And for once, I was on Dolly's side. Like, girl, Dolly should have low-key popped on Tavy because, girl, get out. So now we cut to LCK. She's still crashing out. Ivori and Lex are trying to help the security to calm her down. So she basically saying she's still mad because they wanted to jump her, so the enemy activated in her. Ivori and Lex are saying you gotta hug her, she gotta chill. And then at some point they was basically like, you know what, y'all just gotta let her fight and get it out because she ain't gonna stop. But they thinking she's gonna want to fight Cole K because that's the person who jumped in the fight that you were having with Kay Rican. But she decides she wants Kay Rican again, which was kind of weird and giving picky choosy. You and Kay Rican had a one-on-one that you asked for, and Cole K decided to jump in. So you should continue to want to fight Cole K. You shouldn't want to keep fighting Kay Rican. But you want to keep fighting Kay Rican because you feel like that's a tie for you. You already know that Cold K was tearing you up and you can't beat her. So even though that's the person that actually jumped you, you want to just keep taking it out on Kay Rican, the person that you feel like you could kind of handle a little bit. LCK, it's giving weak. Sit your ass down. Ivori was cracking me up because she was really trying to be nice to LCK, but she was coming off a little bit ignorant. She was like, ain't you African? Plant your feet. Do a little dance. Elsie was like, girl, go away. She was rolling her eyes at Ivori, and Ivori was still playing with her. She was like, come here, give me a hug. I just cheered you up. And she was like, you can't fight angry because when you fight angry, you're going to lose. You got to go into the fight happy or neutral. Ivori was definitely my overall MVP of this episode because you know I break them down in categories at the end, but she was definitely my overall MVP. I really enjoyed her this episode. She bought the fights when she beat up Summer. She bought the mediation when she was trying to help Elsie. And you know, that was just showing the nicer, softer side of her. She bought some humor. She bought like I'm against bullying for fighting Summer for jumping in. Like she was just giving everything that really needed to be gave this episode. So then we see Diamond and Natalie sitting there looking at the situation. And Natalie was like, yeah, Diamond, they're still fighting. So go over there and tell them to stop. So like I said, it's given that you are training her to be the mini CEO. But this whole time you had a problem with Diamond for what? Like Natalie is so weird. You should have been taking her under the wing like this from the beginning and giving her credit. It's time for you to go behind the scenes and you need to start training somebody to do it. And Diamond is somebody who can do it. Like I said, the only other person that I could really see having control over the house and running it is Rolly. But the fans like Diamond more than Rolly. So give it to Diamond. So Elsie's still crashing out. She says she wants Kay Rican's head on a stick. So this was Lex's reaction to her saying that. And then they basically decide, you know what, let's try to take her to her room, let her see how nice her room is. Maybe that'll calm her down. So they take LCK upstairs to see her room, and Russian Cream is all touching on Elsie, like putting her arms around Elsie's neck. And Elsie pushed Russian Cream off of her, like, girl, you was just talking about me saying I was weird too. Like, why are you in my face? But Elsie really wasn't that interested in seeing her room. She ended up walking over to the balcony, and she basically started yelling at Cold K from the balcony saying, you're a punk for jumping in my fight. And Russian basically asked Cold K, like, you jumped in? And Cold K was like, yeah. So Russian was like, why? Like, everybody been doing they one-on-ones. Why would you jump in? And it's like, right message, wrong messenger. Like I said, I agree with her message that Cold K didn't need to jump in. Everybody should be doing they one-on-ones. But it's crazy that you're the one saying that when you was the person calling Elsie weird before you even gave her a chance or got to know her like that. Cold K was basically saying she didn't care. Everybody been jumping in here. I'm going to do what I want to do when it comes to standing up for my friends. And Kay Rican is her friend. So Ivori was enjoying the fact that people were fighting and she wasn't involved for once. So she was like, you know, I'm enjoying the show. So she's low-key encouraging the fight. And she's like, oh, y'all talking from the balcony. Y'all scared. Y'all need to come downstairs and get y'all issue. Scotty's twerking on the balcony. She just looks for any moment to twerk. Like, girl, it's a bunch of fights going on. What are you twerking for? So Russian came down and she was basically talking to Cold K, still saying like, girl, all I said was everybody been fighting one-on-one. So why would you jump in the fight that Elsie was having with Kay Rican? And then we already know that Russian had her own issue that she was trying to get with Kay Rican. But Fauna decided, you know, Cold K and Kay Rican are tired. Kay Rican is sick, throwing up. And she's down here talking about, I need to go get my B. So I guess Russian was saying what she was saying to Cold K, but she was also still saying, like, y'all need to go get Kay Rican. Like, I still want to fight her. And Fauna was like, girl, I'm here. You can fight me. So they ran they ones. It was a good fight between Fauna and Russian Cream, but I do feel like Russian Cream did a little bit better, even though I like Fauna a little bit more. I feel like maybe if they would have had a little more time, Fauna could have redeemed herself and it could have been a tie. But because Russian did get that moment where she kind of got on top of Fauna and was minking her up a little bit, Fauna did flip her over quick. But because of that, I feel like Russian got more hits. So it was a close fight, but I'm going to say Russian was the winner. Then Cold K and Summer decide that they want to fight again. Looked like it was even at first, but at the end, it looked like Summer started tearing Cold K up. And like I said, if you getting tore up by Summer, girl, Cold K cannot fight. So Natalie basically says, listen, I'm not staying here, but I'll be back. I'm really going to get to know everybody this season, and we have all season to fight. So at this point, I'm done for the night. Everybody needs to go to their rooms and stop the fighting. It's done. So next day, we see Rolly and Scotty meeting up in the kitchen, having a scene. Like I said, I feel like Rolly was being fake because she was laughing about Lex attacking Scotty in the confessional. But in this scene, she was acting like she cared. DTB came in and joined them and basically let them know that she was going to be meeting up with Anna today. She had her neck pillow on, cracking me up. She said her neck was hurting from having all them fights. I'm like, girl, you need to go get in that ice bath that Natalie gave you. Diamond also mentioned that she calls Cole K KKK because apparently she's a colorist. I did see something about that online, but I didn't really look into it. If y'all already looked into it, y'all could let me know in the comments. But I definitely feel like that'll be coming up again. So Rolly and Scotty basically agreed that they don't feel right about Anna not coming back. They feel like Anna is really on a baddie timeout. She's not really going nowhere. There's not really that many OGs left or people who've been there for like a lot of seasons, like since East and past. The only people left are Natalie, Rolly, and Scotty. So they kind of like, we do kind of want Anna here. She's been around since Baddies East. So Rolly and Scotty told Diamond, like, make sure you tell Anna we send our love. We miss her. We hope she's able to come back. And Diamond was like, yeah, I hope this is not the last we see of Anna. So then we see Pretty P sitting outside with Cole K, Tavy Baby, and Russian Cream. Pretty P is basically asking them how their first day went. They all said it was cool. It was a lot going on. It was crazy, but it was everything that they knew they signed up for. So Russian Cream was asking Tavy Baby and Cole K how they felt because they both got into it with Diamond. But I'm sitting there questioning how are they sitting right next to each other? Because if I was Cole K, I would have kind of wanted that with Tavy. You kept telling Elsie yesterday to turn around and fight me. Why didn't you do it? Do you want to fight me? So I low-key felt like it was weird that Cole K and Tavy Baby was even next to each other and they was cool like that the next day because I wouldn't have had that energy. Cole K was low-key trying to use the size excuse for why she lost the fight with Diamond. She kept saying that Diamond had a stripper body and, she had a lot of upper body strength. She was big at the top and Cole K feels like she's little compared to Diamond. Pretty P was asking Russian Cream what her issue was with Kay Rican, so she explained the whole situation that I already told y'all with them calling Elsie weird, and she basically said that she'll say whatever she got to say to somebody's face, so she feel like Kay Rican should have did the same thing and said what she said to Elsie's face. So then Cole K basically explained why she was jumping in for Kay Rican yesterday because Kay Rican wasn't feeling good. That's when Tavy piped up and basically said, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be taking sides this early. You might not even be cool with her later in the season. Yet Tavy did the same thing with Natalie and DTB. So then Dolly and Summer come walking over and I'm like, here we go, because they got beef with Pretty P and Cole K. So Pretty P immediately stands up and she's like, Summer, what's up? And Summer's like, oh, P, for real. And P was like, oh, here you go, apologizing again. And Summer like, yeah, I am apologizing because it really wasn't for you. Like basically saying, you hanging around with Ivori and Diamond, I got beef with them, so you was just collateral. Like you was just guilty by association. So then Pretty P asked Summer, okay, so if you feel like that, why didn't you just give me my watch back? Like when you were supposed to give it back, why would you throw it in the water? Summer said it was because Pretty P said, lied on your dead mama, lied on your dead mama, which I did see the video at the reunion for Baddies Midwest. Ivori and Pretty P and Jazz was backstage, and Pretty P was saying that, like doing the whole Bigfoot verse, lied on your dead mama, talking about Summer's dead mom. So Pretty P said in her confessional, like, okay, Summer want to apologize. I'm going to play it cool for now. So they let it go for the moment. And Pretty P was like, at the end of the day, thanks for the upgrade, because now Natalie and Lemmy gonna probably have to give her a new watch. That's probably gonna be a better watch than the one she originally had if they're not able to get it out of the pond. And even if they are able to get it out of the pond, I'm sure they're gonna have to get it like cleaned. So Russian Cream was asking Dolly who she had beef with. Dolly was like, girl, I done fought everybody and their mama and I'm ready to do it again. Russian Cream asked Dolly what happened on the bus. She turned around to Cole K and she was like, you was on the bus with us, right? And Cole K was like, yeah. And Dolly was like, oh, I didn't recognize you because your makeup is done and I don't see your black eyes. You look totally different. And Cole K was like, no, girl, you look totally different. You was just telling me I was pretty. And Dolly sounds stupid because you came on the bus telling the girl that you was a fan of her music for damn near 10 years. And you and your friends used to be bumping her music. So how you don't know what she look like now and she ugly? Girl, bye. Dolly, you're a fan of this girl. But anyway, Summer ends up popping on Cole K. They start fighting and we start seeing powder everywhere. So I don't know if Summer had baby powder in her hand or Cole K had baby powder. I don't know where the powder came from. But I guess we'll find out next week because the episode cuts off there. So in the preview for next week, we do see the continuation of Cole K versus Summer, of course. And then we see that Dolly and Cole K end up fighting as well. It definitely looked like Dolly was tearing Cole K up. So then after that, we see Ivori in the room with Fauna and Kay Rican, and she's basically telling Kay Rican, Lex is going to come in here with Elsie, and we're going to try to mediate the situation with you and Elsie. But of course, Elsie and Kay Rican end up fighting. Then we see Diamond meet up with Anna, and Anna basically says that she feels like the situation between her and Natalie is too far gone. And then lastly, we see Natalie telling the girls that it's time for a house meeting. If anybody has anything they need to settle or get off their chest, they need to do it now because they cannot fight in the clubs in South Africa. They will get in trouble for it. Like, this is not like how it is at home. So we see that Tavy finally decides to stand up for Elsie and ask the girls why did they jump Elsie, and she ends up running up on Kay Rican. But my whole thing is, why didn't you run up on Cold K when that's the person who jumped in the fight? Elsie asked to fight Kay Rican. So y'all can't be mad at Kay Rican. Y'all got to be mad at Cold K. That's the person who did the jumping. But then it does look like Tavy fights Cold K as well after the fact. And Natalie is like, okay, so can we leave everything at the house now and go out? Summer gets up and she says yes after this, and then Summer runs up on Kay Rican. So that's all we got for now. My least valuable OGs for this episode are Rolly and Natalie. My most valuable OGs for this episode are Scotty and DTB. My most valuable new G for this episode is Ivori. My least valuable new G is Summer. If I had to do a second place for this category, I would say my second most valuable new G would be Pretty P, and my second least valuable new G would be Lex. And then I'm not really feeling a lot of the newbies, to be honest. Like, they all kind of mid. It's things I like about them, and then it's things I don't. But for now, the most valuable newbie for me is Fauna. My least valuable newbie for this episode was Tavy Baby, but I also really wasn't feeling Russian Cream either. So she would be a second place least valuable newbie. Kay Rican would probably still be my second place most valuable newbie. Okay, guys, so that's it for Baddies Africa episode 3 review / recap. I'll see y'all soon for Baddies Gone Wild episode 3 review / recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. I'll see y'all later. Bye.